So you're thinking about moving to Bend or somewhere else in Central Oregon, but you're curious about the politics and maybe this whole Greater Idaho movement that you've been hearing about here and there. Well, that's exactly what we're going to be addressing today. We're going to talk about this whole concept of the Greater Idaho movement and how it affects you in Central Oregon and where you would wind up living if you do choose to live here based off of the information we're about to present to you. So if this whole thing and this whole idea sounds interesting to you, stick around because we're going to be getting after this video right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, working, playing, the politics, the left or right politics of living in Bend in Central Oregon, then subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell below so you can be the first to know about the current market in Bend, Oregon. My name's Ryan and I've lived in Bend for over 30 years. My business partner, Zach, and I, we get calls and texts every day from people just like you, looking for help on making their move to Bend or anywhere else in Central Oregon, and we absolutely love what we do. Whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or even set up a Zoom meeting. We'd be happy to help you make that smooth move to Bend or anywhere else here in Central Oregon. So like we talked about in the intro, today's video is going to be a little different. We're going to be talking about this whole Greater Idaho movement. You might be asking yourself, why does this apply to this channel, a real estate channel about Central Oregon, and why am I watching it? Well, it's kind of interesting in the sense that Bend and Redmond, along with the rest of the state, have some political divide, and this whole concept of Greater Idaho actually coincides with it pretty interestingly. So that's what we want to show you today. It's almost a spoof, but to me, this whole Greater Idaho movement, I don't think it has a ton of momentum yet, but who knows, maybe it will down the road. But I think it was really spurred along over the last couple of years during a certain pandemic when there was a lot of stuff in the news that was polarizing and separating one side from the other. And so what we ended up having was a great divide, and this whole Greater Idaho talk got a lot of momentum along the way. So we want to discuss that a little bit just for your entertainment and give you an idea as to what's going on here in Central Oregon. Let me just do a couple adjustments here and we'll share the screen and then we'll just get right into it. You can see here, Idaho House passes non-binding measure calling for formal Greater Idaho talks. What is this whole Greater Idaho talk thing in the first place? Well, if you've never heard of it before, it's basically where the state of Idaho will absorb the majority of Eastern Oregon. As you can see, this is the proposed border here. So why is this happening? Well, like many other states, Oregon is very politically divided. You can see here not only physically divided based off of the mountain range that is the Cascade Mountains that goes right here and separates the west side from the east side, the Central Oregon and east side of the state, but you can see that the majority of the population, this is where it's going to be. This is kind of the primary area where Oregon's population resides. We have 4 million people in this state, and I would speculate within the circle I just drew, there's 3 million of them, maybe 3.5 million of those people. So the vast majority of the people live in the circle I just proposed. There's a mountain range that goes right down here. It's called the Cascade Mountain Range, where we have multiple 10,000 foot peaks, but the barrier, the base layer is about 5,500 to 6,000 feet. It goes right down from top to bottom of the state, separates the valley area here, rainy, gloomy, more left leaning, from the desert, the high desert climate here. Bend and Redmond, they fall right into the middle of this whole polarizing debate, and I'm going to show you why. Maybe you've already looked ahead at the map and seen why, but this is quite interesting. So the proposal is that the state of Idaho, a right-leaning red state, would absorb the majority of all of Eastern Oregon, but the majority of Central Oregon as well, as you can see this proposed border. And so it comes all the way down. It takes up these small towns up in Eastern Oregon, Pendleton, Hermiston, LeGrand, and then it comes up and it basically starts going to the south right when we get to just before the Dalles. Okay, the Dalles is on the Columbia River, as is Hood River. Those would stay with the state of Oregon. But then the border comes down, absorbs Madras, which is in Jefferson County to the north. But interestingly, Idaho would take Redmond and Prineville and leave Bend. Okay, and then circle back, take Lapine with it, and then continue its trek down to the south, also taking Klamath Falls with it along the way. So that's why we're bringing this up on the channel today. It's kind of funny. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. What I have been told is that another state absorbing another part of another state is more of a possibility than what we've had with California for so long, where maybe you know this. If you drive into California from Oregon, you go through Redding, you go through Weed, you go through Siskiyou County. You see all these signs up here that say we want to be our own independent state, the state of Jefferson, because the people that live in extreme Northern California, why should they be paying taxes for people down in San Diego and Los Angeles? So it kind of makes sense, but for them to branch off and become their own completely independent state, probably never going to happen. This, on the other hand, is a little different. This is about a current state, the state of Idaho, absorbing more of the state of Oregon. So if we look at this map here, this is all Oregon Badlands, basically. This is just wilderness. You can see here, it's Wild West type area. It's nothing like the climate of Willamette Valley and near the Oregon coast. This is all Badland desert terrain here. Not a lot of people live out here. Burns maybe has 2,000 people. Okay, Baker City, maybe 5 to 10,000 people. All these towns up here, probably totally, maybe 80,000 people total in that circle there. So that's the highest body of population in all of Eastern Oregon. Down here, there's next to nothing. Nobody lives here. So the state of Idaho would absorb this. But what's really interesting is that we promote Central Oregon real estate on this channel. If this ever were to happen, be pretty entertaining, right? The state line would go right through Central Oregon. Again, like we talked about, leave Bend in Oregon, Redmond goes with Idaho. What do you think about this? Does this actually play a role in your decision as to where you're going to live and move to in Central Oregon while you're doing your due diligence? Do you want to be in a left-leaning state or a right-leaning state? Which one is it? I'm very curious to know, but the reality is if you go to Greater Idaho in a Google search bar and just type in news, you see that it does get a little bit of legs. It's starting to grow a little bit of momentum. I think when we have more polarizing political topics, maybe during an election period or something else that should happen that divides us from one side to the other, it will create and get more momentum again. But the reality is just based off of this article alone, the Idaho House passes non-binding measure calling for formal Greater Idaho talks. Again, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's kind of an interesting talking point. I like talking about it with my buddies when we're having a beer, but I don't really see it happening anytime soon. Interesting though, and it also affects Central Oregon directly because it splits Central Oregon in half. What do you think about that? Are you leaning towards Redmond? Are you leaning towards Bend based off of this information, or does it not even matter to you at all? I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. And if you're curious to learn more about living in Central Oregon, we would love to help you start exploring what area might be the best fit for you. Zach and I, we love what we do. We're trying to provide as much context, as much entertainment, as much information about Bend and Central Oregon as we possibly can while you're making your research and doing your due diligence about our area before you make the big move to Central Oregon. So if you need to reach out to us, please do. It starts with you guys reaching out to us. You can call us, you can text us, you can email us, you can even set up a Zoom meeting. We would love to help you figure out where the best fit for you in Central Oregon is. And again, it starts with you guys reaching out. We love the fact that you're watching these videos and supporting our channel. Please let us know what you think. Do you like today's video? It's a little different than what we've done before in the past, but I think it's entertaining. And it affects us directly because of draw a line in the sand. Which side are you on? I mean, according to some of these Greater Idaho talk type people. So anyway, I'm so glad you guys watched this video. Please let me know what you think. Please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. We're so grateful again, like I said, for your support. And if I don't see you around town soon, I will plan on seeing you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.